Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi, welcome to Life Recovery Today. I've got Becky Brown on with me. We're going to do something a little bit different. She's going to be interviewing me or talking to me about the book I wrote with Dr. Dave Stoop, The Soul of a Hero. Look at this. I am one of the world's worst golfers, but I have gotten involved with some guys and we go to some of the best golf courses ever. And I found this, I really thought it meant a lot. For what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses the last hole? Now, I thought that's kind of funny, and so I hung it in my bathroom. Well, you know, it comes from a scripture that's really important. What does it profit someone to get out there, do all this stuff, but you lose your soul? We're going to talk about the soul of a hero, and I believe that recovery must be about recovering the soul. Well, what is that? The soul is your spirit, it's your character, it's everything that isn't flesh and blood. It's the part of you that's going to live on forever. When I build my character, and some people encourage me, do more. But when I improve myself and I grow spiritually, I'm actually building up the thing that is going to go into eternity with me. I just think that's so amazing. If I build up muscle, well, and I need to, but if I do that, that's going to stay here. So in recovery, what are we recovering? Well, I think we're recovering a connection with God. Interesting. Isn't that why the 12 steps, well, they start with surrender. It's me saying I can't do this on my own, and I am aware that God can, and then I say, I'm going to let Him. Really, that's the beginning of recovery. It's the recovery of the soul that wants to be connected to God. The eyeball does not hear well. No, it's for seeing. And the soul is there to connect with God. I think our souls long for God, but then we get distracted or something else provides a different kind of pleasure, and sure enough, we get way off track. But recovery helps us get right back on with 12 amazing steps. It's called Life Recovery, and the life we're looking for is that thing that's more than you ever dreamed. It's that quality that you've heard about. It's that serenity and peace that can only come when our soul is connected to God. We're going to talk about that and other things right after this.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. One of the greatest losses of my life is the loss of Dave Stoop. Dave was my best friend and colleague and writing partner, get this, for 40 years. And I miss him greatly. He's kind of an irreplaceable human being in my life. One time, Dave and I wrote a book in 3 days. We were supposed to write the book Answers to Children's Questions About War. So we had to write it quickly. Well, no matter how quickly we did it, the war was over before it could be published, and they changed the name to The War's Over, but Children Still Have Questions. This book, The Soul of a Hero, took us 5 years to write. From idea to it being in my hand was a 5-year process. We rewrote this 3 times before it became the book that it is. I miss Dave because Dave had the soul of a hero. He was truly authentic, and I've heard Henry Cloud said it, and I said it. He is the most consistent person that Henry's ever met and that I've ever met. Well, I wanted to talk about this book, and so I have brought along Becky Brown. Of course, many people know Becky from New Life Live because you do the program there, and Becky has been part of our counseling. She's been the facilitator of the whole counseling network, now working in development and all sorts of other things. And so here's the book, and you're going to ask me some questions about it.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to read it too, and it's so pertinent for this day and age. And so my first question would be, what does the culture do to men and to fathers?
Yeah, we're calling men to be heroes, and the book is for men. Well, there are a lot of female heroes, of course. I mean, you don't have to go far to Rosa Parks and other folks that have just had the courage to do something. And in the Bible, there are great female heroes. So I'm not denying that at all. One of my favorite is the woman Jael. Jael, the commander who was just this evil troublemaker, ended up running to her tent and saying, "Please hide me. They're going to kill me." And old Jael said, "Yeah, come on in," and gives him a little milk, makes him sleepy, puts a rug over him, and then drives a tent peg through his head.
Yes.
And, I think Israel had about, decades of peace after that. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of female heroes. I don't want to discount that. But here we're talking about men becoming heroes. And it's very hard to do that when you've got a society that's just simply kind of demanding that men be nice, or men be half man and half of anything you want to be. And we are labeled as everybody's narcissistic, everybody's oppressive, abusive, and it's just not true. Mm-hmm. There's some really, really good men. But society has, it has really done a number on us. And I think probably the most devastating message is that we're optional. Mm. If a person is not raised in the home, then the statistics of problems go way up. I'll give you one. You're 32 times more likely to go to prison if you don't have a dad in the home. Mm. But there's another side to that too. The dad leaves, and now the single mom takes over, and she does a good job. Mm-hmm. And she proves we didn't need him. Mm-hmm. Well, you did need him, because later on all sorts of things happen because there wasn't a man. But we need people. Mm-hmm. We need men, we need women to stay together. The one word I would say to every man is stay. And it's so hard for him to do that. And then, you think about every man has a father wound. Mm-hmm. That's what John Eldridge said in Wild at Heart. He said that every boy has a wound. It's an arrow through the heart, right at his strength, and every boy has to deal with that. And many times we don't have anybody to help us. And they put all this together, and you get some really tough situations for men. A lot of times they walk out the door. What we're trying to do is equip men to stay and to be the hero, to be the man that God called them to be.
Yeah, it's such a needed message
Yeah.
on all levels, especially when we talk about recovery, because we have so many men who are working recovery and they have those father wounds. And so that's part of that healing process.
Well, one of the good news about men who are incarcerated is, like Prison Fellowship gave away 100,000 Life Recovery Bibles. There's your 12-step program to become the man God intended for you to become. And, if I ever hear somebody say, I don't like the 12 steps, I like to ask them, well, what steps do you like?
Right.
What's
your
what
plan?
are they?
Right.
And you know what? If they're Christians, no matter what they say, I can tie it to one of the steps because it's just a discipleship plan.
It's such a, what Dave used to call it. It is a spiritual path. It is a sanctification process.
Right, yeah.
And what hero doesn't need that, right?
We all do.
So you mentioned that heroes start small. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, every hero has a story. I'll talk to you about that later. But what I think is so amazing about the story of the ultimate hero is that the ultimate hero, Jesus, started small, like a baby.
Right.
He came as a baby in the most vulnerable form, and so he modeled this starting small. Then he became a teacher, and he said what he had modeled. Unless you become like little children, you will not inherit the kingdom. Well, what are little children like? What's he saying there? Well, little children, first of all, are very willing. When Misty and I started to date, and we felt like it looks like this thing's going to last, and it has over 16 years now, Carter was at my house, and they were running around, and he fell and hurt himself. And I picked him up, and Carter said, "Oh, you feel like my dad." Well, I've been feeling like his dad. I've felt like his dad for a very long time. He has a great dad, but he was willing to be picked up. He was willing to be comforted. He was willing for us to help him with the wound. And so that's one thing that a child does. The other thing, James was his brother, and we took James on a little trip, and we were at the ocean, and he spent probably 3 hours. There was a little rock that had little tiny fish around it. He probably spent 3 hours going up and down, up and down. And he was fascinated. Children are fascinated. They're not jaded. They're not dull, boring. They are fascinating. So when we come back, I'd love to talk more about the soul of a hero. You could get a copy by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE. As I said before, it's the last book that Dave and I wrote, and we redid it so much, 5 years into it. And there's 7 concepts in there. We'll talk about maybe 2 or 3 here, but there's 7 concepts that every man could implement and then become God's man, God's hero, where it's not all about finding some desperate person who doesn't have any choice but to let you rescue them. It's nice when we can rescue people, but you don't have to find desperate people to be a hero. We'll be back.
It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis. Someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Becky Brown is here. We're talking about the book, The Soul of a Hero. And the last time we were there before the break, I was talking about starting small and being willing and fascinating. And anybody in recovery, you have to start small. You might think you're some big shot, but you start small. You humble down, and that's the beginning of recovery. And that's the beginning of us building character, building our soul, becoming the hero God wants us to be.
That's right. Willingness is huge. So what about the hero's journey? What about that journey?
Yeah. Well, if you look at some of the book, there's a great book called Hero with 1,000 Faces. Campbell wrote it. And he says that pretty much all of the heroes, Superman, Frodo, probably, you name it, they have a similar journey. Things start off kind of normal, and then there's a really scary thing, and it causes that hero to face his fears or face something bigger than himself, a challenge that it looks like it's going to be impossible. And then he doesn't just go do it. In most stories, he seeks assistance. He gets help from some other people, and then faces the fears, overcomes all the doubt, and wins and defeats whatever it is. Then, after that, things kind of return to normal in the hero's journey. But the hero is transformed forever. It's like the hero will be different. Well, is that the story of Jesus? Yes, it is. Because one of the things that we talk about in a godly hero, he seeks assistance. And if we look at the life of Jesus, he, in the Garden of Gethsemane, he asked the disciples, would you pray with me? Would you be with me? And he wanted that assistance. And it's really important. They could have suffered with him. They could have been, but he fell asleep. And so it was a missed opportunity. But Jesus, as a human, but all God too, was seeking assistance. So if, that song, No Man is an Island, stupid song, because almost every man I meet is like an island. You have to really be intentional of bringing other men around you. You need help, and especially in recovery. There's a group that brings men to Every Man's Battle, and if they'll go to the intensive, they'll get in a 12-step group and get a sponsor, the ultimate recovery assistant. They got, it's like over 90% of them stay with it and do really well.
It's such an important part. I think too many people think that the hero is this instant hero. It's, the superhero kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what we don't realize is that all of us have this journey to take. And it does require other people. It
does. And, most likely we know what to do, and then we don't do it. We get off track. We experience pain. It's not enough pain, so we experience more pain until finally we say, you know what, I'm gonna surrender and get the help that I need. And the sooner somebody does that, the better.
I love that. I love that so much. So the third concept is the ultimate, the war within.
Yeah.
So what is that about?
Well, before you go to battle, you have to win the war within. And that simply means that we've got to face our fears or the challenge within us, and then we can do what we need to do. Well, if it's true that Jesus is the ultimate hero, did Jesus have to do that? I would say that sweating blood is a pretty good indicator that you're in horrible turmoil. And you know why I think he did sweat blood? Because he knew what was ahead.
Right.
And it was horrible. He wasn't just nailed to the cross, he was tortured.
Right.
And so he was sweating drops of blood, and then he says to his father, hey, listen. Well, he didn't say it that way, but he said, if there's any other way, let's do it that way. And then, he won that war within and said, okay, I'm ready to do, I can do this, I will do this. And he defeated Satan on the cross. And what is so amazing, once he won the battle within, the human part of him winning that battle within, then he's being nailed to the cross and he's praying for the men that are nailing him to the cross. And then he's dying for the men that nailed him to the cross.
Right.
And he's asking his Father to forgive all the people that are involved in his crucifixion. And I wish I could be like that or more like that. And so he truly did the most heroic thing that anybody could ever do, to die for the bad stuff,
Right.
to die for our sins so that we could one day experience another heroic act where he says to his Father, hey, this person, they professed me on earth, they told people about me, I was part of their life, and they believed that my sacrifice saved their sins, and that brought righteousness to them, and into heaven we go. He'll
What a
speak
gift.
for us before the Father, and that's what a hero does.
Such an amazing gift, and I don't know that we appreciate it to that extent,
No.
just that you described
I
it.
agree.
So before going to battle, what does that entail?
Well, before you go to battle, I think you really have to prepare yourself. You got to have the right tools. And I would say this, I think you have to be sure you're fighting the right battle. Because it would be really sad for you to think you've conquered something just because you did something over here. What I'm really talking about is, if you think the battle is to stop something, and now you've stopped it, and so you've won the battle within, well, you're never going to go to war, and you're never going to go to battle and win what you need to win. It's not about stopping. It's about seeing the deprivation that's there, seeing where you have faults, defects, and becoming willing that you would do whatever it takes to fix those, or to allow God to remove them from you. And so that's a big part of it, is that we're fighting the right battle. And then again, you need the right tools. I think the 12 steps, I have to believe it is the most widely used program to transform a life. I don't know of any other system that's got more people that have gone through it. And what I love about Life Recovery, of course, is that you're not fully recovered if you don't find Christ, or you don't from the beginning make Jesus the higher power. And I'll just mention this, in the 12 steps in the secular world, it says, and we surrender to God as we understood him. Well, people say, that needs to be Jesus. Well, you know what? I think you don't know how devastating addiction can be. And I know the God that I first understood, cut your legs off if you sin or whatever, you're zapped with lightning. And now I've learned about God being the God who is rich in mercy and wants us to experience his grace, not all of that crummy stuff.
Well, it's such a great message. The soul of a hero can make a difference in the lives of so many men and women. I read the book. I think it's great. And I know that it's going to make a difference in so many people's lives.
I hope so. I'll just close out this segment by saying thank you, Becky, for asking those questions. And I'll have a word after we finish here. But, it really is. I started this by talking about what does it profit a person to win the whole world and lose the last hole. Wouldn't it be horrible that you play this game of life and then you discover it wasn't about playing a game. It was about finding the path to eternity. And that path is Jesus. That ultimate recovery is recovering a sense of Christ in your life. He's existed from the beginning of time. And so when we are open to the fact that Jesus is the way and the truth and the life, and no one goes to the Father except through him, we have recovered eternity. We have truly transformed our life from being dependent on some thing, habit, or chemical to being free. We'll be back after this.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. The Soul of a Hero is about how a man steps up and becomes the hero that God has called him to become. But let me tell you about a real hero in my life. It's my mother. My mom was just here, got on a plane at age 94 to come and celebrate my birthday and Father's Day, along with Madeline flew in from California, had everybody I was related to, including Aunt Mary, right here with me. And my mom is a cancer survivor. My middle brother died of AIDS back in the 80s when people that contracted it died very quickly. My father made her a widow about 30 years ago, and she just keeps going. She is so full of love and laughter. In fact, she's the one that taught me, if you can't be deep, be funny. She's had more fun in this world, and she's got more friends that love her and care about her. One of the ways that you could be a hero is to find a man to read this book, because I think it might be the best path for a man finding all that he is intended to be. I love the fact that we pull this wonderful quote from John Eldridge and Wild at Heart, that every man has a wound. I see so many people making that wound worse rather than help it to heal. And that's what we're trying to do with this book. Thanks for joining me, and we'll be back next time with more of Life Recovery Today. In the meantime, I sure hope you'll study that Life Recovery Bible.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.